government vows to do more after the death of intellectually disabled brothers. President Xi Jinping is in Hangzhou to open the Asian Games. At least 6 people are killed in a factory fire in Taiwan. Hello, welcome to TVB News. A pair of intellectually disabled middle-aged brothers had allegedly starved to death in the city recently. The tragedy came to light last night and prompted calls for more support towards the disabled and their carers. To address the issue, Secretary for Labor and Welfare Chris Sun said a 24-hour hotline dedicated to carers would soon be available, with more support services offered to families in need. The brothers, aged 55 and 53, were found dead in their home at Sawai House in Sao Mau Ping Friday. The pair allegedly died of starvation after their mother, also their carer, was admitted to hospital. A resident in the housing estate said it's upsetting to witness such incidents in a well-developed city like Hong Kong. Reportedly, the brothers with intellectual deficiency knew how to cook and had some self-care abilities. The siblings stopped attending follow-up medical consultations mid-last year. Their mother has remained hospitalized since May. The younger brother of the 2 deceased tried to visit them in June, but he could not enter their flat and no one picked up his phone call too. The brothers' bodies were found on Friday after a security guard reported a foul smell from the flat. Their relationship with their younger brother worsened because of their decision to not have any more medical checkups. The younger sibling had tried to keep in touch with them, but that didn't prevent the tragedy from happening. Secretary for Labor and Welfare Chris Sun expressed his condolences, saying there is no record of the family seeking help from the Social Welfare Department and other non-profit organizations. Sun urged the community, including neighbors, to take an extra step to offer assistance. He said there will soon be a helpline operating round the clock for carers. Services available encompass referrals, emergency transport, and immediate outreach visits. There is also a one-stop platform with all care-related information in the pipeline, Sun added. He said the government will try to join forces with other organizations, including the care teams, to uncover more hidden cases in need of help in the community. Following the tragedy that saw 2 brothers with intellectual disabilities starve to death after their mother was hospitalized, some parents of mentally disabled children explained how some carers are thinking. They said they are reluctant to seek help as they fear the authorities do not understand their situation. Timothy Lee tells us more.
Some parents of intellectually disabled children said many people suffering from the condition and their carers think the government does not understand their situation and needs, and so rejected assistance because of that. Lee Chi-young, a former chairman of an organization of parents with children suffering from severe intellectual disabilities, said such families require the help of experienced individuals who have been in their situation. Earlier, an advisory group of carers working with the government delivered a report offering 11 suggestions for government assistance, which included setting up information-sharing platforms between carers and providing financial assistance. The government said a hotline for carers will be set up later this month and will regularize the living allowance of low-income disabled residents and carers next month, raising it from $600 to $3,000. The Social Welfare Department also planned to release a website dedicated to information on carers at the end of the year. Lawmaker Tan Ka-pew suggested the government should be more proactive in seeking out hidden and high-risk cases of people suffering from the health condition. He added the city's care teams could also approach these individuals to assist them in seeking help. Timothy Lee, TVB News.
Amid the summer influenza season, the city reported at least 8 cases of children having developed severe flu. A respiratory disease expert called on parents to have their children receive flu jabs as soon as possible. Professor David Hui of the Chinese University of Hong Kong said only 2 of the 8 severe flu cases involving children have been vaccinated. He reminds that the latest round of the flu vaccine subsidy scheme will be out next Thursday. Outreach vaccinations in schools and care homes, meanwhile, will begin on October 5th. He said early inoculation could help prevent flu complications, including pneumonia. As for COVID-19, Professor Hui said there could be a minor peak around November and December as residents experience a drop in antibody levels. The cruise ship Spectrum of the Seas returned to the city this morning, 1 month after its passengers were met with public transport shortage at the Kai Tak cruise terminal. Authorities said they will not provide free shuttle buses this time. This as other modes of transport, including tour buses and free rides provided by nearby shopping malls, step up to offer services to visitors. The tour buses travel between the cruise terminal and Admiralty, Lantau Island, Mount Kok, and West Kowloon. Buses provided by shopping malls carried passengers between the pier and shopping centers at Kwun Tong and Diamond Hill. The 19th Asian Games will commence shortly in the city of Hangzhou. President Xi Jinping will proclaim the Games open at around 8 p.m. President Xi met with International Olympic Committee President Thomas Bach yesterday at a guest house in Hangzhou, with the latter arriving to attend the Asian Games opening ceremony. The president noted preparations are ready for this year's Asian Games and thanked the IOC president for his long-term support. President Xi also met with state leaders in Hangzhou, including South Korean Prime Minister Han Duck-soo, Cambodian monarch Norodom Sihamoni, and East Timorese Prime Minister Yohanna Gasmiao. Chief Executive John Lee is also set to attend the opening ceremony of the 19th Asian Games in Hangzhou tonight. This afternoon, John Lee and the SAR government delegation visited the themed exhibition on the 20th anniversary of the implementation of the Double Eight strategy at the Zhejiang Exhibition Hall. The Double Eight strategy is a development plan proposed by President Xi Jinping in 2003 when he was party secretary in Zhejiang. The plan aims to further leverage the 8 advantages of Zhejiang with 8 measures, including environmental protection efforts in the province. Relations between the European Union and China have become more tense due to Beijing's relationship with Moscow after Russian forces invaded Ukraine and the EU's push to rely less on the world's second-largest economy. The EU's Trade Commissioner Valdis Dombrovskis is currently on a 4-day tour in China. He said the EU does not want to decouple with China but must protect itself. Tracy Furness has more.
Speaking at the annual Bund Summit conference in Shanghai on Saturday, the European Union's Trade Commissioner Valdis Dombrovskis said there was a huge trade deficit between China and the EU.
Last year, the EU registered a record bilateral trade with China of 865 billion euros. But it is very unbalanced because the EU has a trade deficit of almost 400 billion euros. The EU also needs to protect itself in situations when the openness is. But let me stress, the risky is not decoupling. And the EU has no intention to decouple from China.
In a separate interview, Dombrovskis, who is also the EU's executive vice president, said the European Commission would investigate whether to impose punitive tariffs to protect European electric vehicle producers from cheaper Chinese imports.
What has been announced is a launch of anti-subsidy investigation, which is going to be facts-based investigation and which will provide sufficient opportunities also for engagement with both Chinese authorities and Chinese industry.
Dombrovskis' trip is designed to renew dialogue with China after the COVID-19 pandemic, with both sides looking to cool tensions over issues ranging from foreign investment, trade and geopolitics, as well as the Western criticism of Beijing's closer ties with Moscow following Russia's 2022 invasion of Ukraine. Noting that this year marks the 20th anniversary of the establishment of the China-EU Comprehensive Strategic Partnership, Wang Yi, director of China's Office of the Foreign Affairs Commission, said China is ready to work with the EU to map out the next stage of bilateral exchanges so as to open up new prospects for China-EU cooperation. Tracy Furness, TVB News.
A fire at a golf equipment factory in southern Taiwan has left at least 6 people dead, including at least 3 firefighters. More than 100 have been injured, with 4 people unaccounted for. The fire has yet to be put out after burning for 24 hours. Smoke and flames engulfed the manufacturing plant, with intermittent rumbles of explosions. This factory in the Technology Industrial Park in Pingtung County, Taiwan, manufactured golf equipment. The blaze broke out at around 6 p.m. Friday and raged on overnight. Reportedly, an explosion occurred while the first batch of firefighters were trying to battle the blaze. Many were unconscious while being extricated, with paramedics rushing to treat the firefighters. Temperatures inside the factory went past 1,000 degrees Celsius, slowing firefighting efforts. The local fire squad was restricted to hosing water from the outside, and search and rescue work could only be undertaken after the flames had come under control. Local media reported the blaze was likely caused after the rubber raw material for making the golf equipment caught fire. As some of the victims have been burned beyond recognition, families have to identify the bodies through DNA analysis. Still ahead, Canada promises to continue supporting Ukraine during visit by Volodymyr Zelensky. U.S. fighter jet pilot called 911 after ejecting from plane. Britain's King Charles wraps up his visit to France. Welcome back. Ukraine's armed forces may be getting the long-range missiles they have been long asking for. U.S. President Joe Biden has reportedly told his Ukrainian counterpart Volodymyr Zelensky that American-made Army tactical missile systems will be provided. It confirmed it could help Ukrainian forces reach deeper behind Russian lines. This as Russia's defense ministry said its Black Sea Fleet headquarters in Crimea was damaged by a missile attack by Ukraine. Zelensky, meanwhile, has arrived in Canada seeking to bolster support for his country. Nasvi Karim with more.
At a time when support for Ukraine shows signs of waning among some Western allies, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky is hoping his presence in North America can help to reverse the trend. After meeting U.S. President Joe Biden in Washington, Zelensky flew to Canada, where he held a rally in Toronto on Friday with Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau. Both leaders stressed the importance of Kyiv's victory in the conflict with Russia, which invaded Ukraine in February last year. Addressing a crowd that included Ukrainians who had fled the war, Zelensky urged Ottawa to stay with this country as they try to push Russian forces out of occupied land.
Thank you, Justin. To be serious, I'm so proud that Ukraine inspires, really, that Ukrainians inspire, and so do Canadian Ukrainians. Thank you. And I thank you all of you, that you are active.
Trudeau announced an additional $482 million in support over 3 years to fund the building of 50 armored vehicles, bringing total aid since the start of the war to $6.7 billion.
Canadians know this is a question of right or wrong. Canadians know that, yes, it is incredibly hard for Ukraine to continue to stand against Russian aggression. But we will, because the cost on Canadians, on our lives, on our world, will be so much greater if Putin wins this war, that we will and have to stand every single day until Ukraine wins this war.
Freedom will be the winner.
Zelensky earlier called for solidarity and support from Canada during a speech before the country's parliament. It came soon after Ukraine leader faced questions from American lawmakers about the flow of US dollars into Ukraine to help fight Russian forces. On the war front, Russia attacked multiple command centers, tanks, munition depots and other military targets of Ukraine over the previous 24 hours, while Ukraine struck Russian air defense systems. Nasvi Karim, TVB News.
Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau said Ottawa had credible intelligence linking Indian agents to the murder of Sikh separatist leader Hardeep Singh Nijjar on Canadian soil.
In regards to India, Canada has shared the credible allegations that I talked about on Monday with India. We did that many weeks ago, and we are there to work constructively with India, and we hope that they engage with us so that we can get to the bottom of this very serious matter.
Trudeau was asked about India during a press conference with visiting Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky. Nijar, a plumber who was born in India and became a Canadian citizen in 2007, had been wanted by India for years over separatist activities. He was gunned down in June outside the temple in Surrey, a suburb of Vancouver. India has denied the accusation, with the row setting off tit-for-tat moves, with each country expelling a diplomat. An American fighter jet that cost $100 million ran into problems and had to eject its pilot. The incident happened last weekend when the pilot parachuted into the backyard of a home and then called 911 for help. The F-35 was later found crashed. NBC has the story.
As a $100 million military fighter jet tore unmanned through the South Carolina sky, tonight, for the first time, we're hearing from its pilot in a 911 call moments after he parachuted to safety.
We had a military jet crash. I'm the pilot. We need to get rescue rolling.
The 47-year-old pilot was flying an F-35 Sunday, but had to eject, landing in the backyard of a North Charleston home where a stunned homeowner called 911.
I guess we got a pilot at our house, and he says he got ejected. So he ejected from the plane. So we just see if we could get some ambulance, please.
I'm sorry, what happened?
We got a pilot in the house, and I guess he landed in my backyard.
The pilot describes his harrowing escape, saying, incredibly, his only injury is back pain.
How far did he fall?
I was at 2,000 feet.
And what caused the fall?
An aircraft failure.
He urgently tells the dispatcher the plane is likely going down.
I'm not sure where the airplane is. It would have crash landed somewhere. I ejected.
I understand, sir.
It was ultimately found some 80 miles away after crashing into a field. Officials have not said what went wrong, but just this week, the Government Accountability Office released a report on the F-35 program, saying the fleet's mission-capable rate was about 55%, consistently failing to meet performance goals. It comes after this stunning crash landing last December in Texas, where an F-35 pilot had to eject on the runway. And officials say the investigation into this latest crash will take several months.
After the glamour and politics in Paris, Britain's King Charles concluded his 3-day state visit to France with a trip down south to Bordeaux on Friday to focus on a more personal passion, the environment. Tracy Furness has more.
On their third and final day in France, King Charles and Queen Camilla were greeted by flag-waving schoolchildren as they arrived at Bordeaux City Hall in the south of the country. The royal couple planted a loquat leaf oak tree in the garden of the City Hall. The tree is known for its adaptability to a changeable climate. While Queen Camilla visited a local charity for people in need, King Charles spent some time with the firefighters who helped fight wildfires in the Bordeaux region last year. They showed the British monarch maps and photos of the devastation the fires caused in the area. They also guided him around an experimental forest designed to monitor the impact of climate on urban woodlands. Charles and Camilla wrapped up their sojourn in France with a tour of the Chateau Smith-Haute-Lafite winery, known for its sustainable approach to winemaking. Owners Florence and Daniel Cathillard and their pet llama greeted the royal couple before showing them around the vineyard. Severe drought last year forced the region's earliest ever harvest. Bordeaux has long been working to adapt to climate change. Some areas were pruning vines in a different way or finding new watering techniques. This estate is said to be completely organic and also produces solar energy. The llamas are used to weed the fields. And the royal couple couldn't leave before trying a glass or two of wine. King Charles and Queen Camilla left Bordeaux on Friday, concluding their state visit to France. This was King Charles' first visit to France since becoming monarch. Tracy Furness, TVB News.
Back locally, the MTR celebrated the 5th anniversary of the cross-border high-speed rail in the city, revealing it has carried more than 12 million passengers in the first 8 months of this year. Daily passengers last month surpassed 100,000, breaking the pre-pandemic record. At West Kowloon Station today, the MTR's high-speed rail mascot celebrated the occasion by taking photos with residents. The transport company's personnel could be seen giving out gifts to passers-by. Restaurants and stores within the station also offered special discounts. Secretary for Transport and Logistics Lam Sai-hung said on a blog post, the high-speed rail helps to strengthen the city's status as the nation's southern gateway. And that's the news. Thank you for watching.